Delhi numbers are skyrocketing, and it's now very clear that Delhi is just about 10 days behind Mumbai. Wherever Mumbai is today, Delhi will be 10 days later. Wherever Mumbai is 10 days later, Delhi will be 20 days later. And, and this, as I was explaining, is only going to climb given that heat and humidity haven't been able to control the spread of the virus. And it's very painful to hear stories of migrant laborers all around us, people walking hundreds of kilometers, cycling 1,000 kilometers just to reach back home, dying on the way, hungry, and we are just unable to manage it. And at this point of time, there's something that I've always spoken about at IIPM think tank. We wrote it, me and my father wrote it in our book, The Great Indian Dream, way back in 2003. And my father has been speaking about it for many years before that. And it's time for us to think of a much more humanitarian world. It's no more about running behind a free market. A free market is a great slave, but a horrible master. And finally, it has been proven that the free market doesn't care about those who are marginalized. Before my father passed away last year in August, we were writing a book together called The Great Global Dream. And I think it's time for the Great Global Dream to take reality. It's no more about India. Very soon, it's going to be the African countries, as I was just telling, where the numbers are going to speak. The numbers have already skyrocketed in USA, in Europe. Europe has been devastated. Brazil. And unfortunately in US and Brazil, we have two leaders at this point of time who have absolutely zero social consciousness, who are hardcore proponents of the free market, and the free market isn't able to do anything. And it's time that we realize that it's not about one country anymore. It's every country in the world. Each and every country in this world that requires universal basic income. Each and every country in this world today needs health facilities, free health facilities, the best health facility for the last person standing, the last person ill, every human being. I must get the same health facility as my driver gets when he falls ill. And that is not asking for too much. The United Nations, which has been absolutely dysfunctional and good for nothing, must now tell that health is human rights. It must say that education is human rights. But far more importantly, it must say that basic income, universal basic income, and not $2 a day, living income that takes care of good shelter. In fact, health and shelter are human rights. There can be no country which can be a part of this global world which doesn't take care of health and shelter and basic income as human rights. If any country does that, if it doesn't consider it, human rights is not about who's torturing whom in the prison cells. We have had enough of that kind of human rights. Human right definition must become humane now. And as a part of human rights definition, the new definition of human rights must include access, access, access. Access to health, access to basic minimum income, and access to shelter, apart from access to justice. Human rights is not about keeping your citizens like dogs and then telling, well, don't put them in prison and don't torture them. Human rights is about keeping them human. You got to keep them human. And if you want to treat human beings as human beings, you cannot have a system which doesn't have access, access, access to universal basic income, universal, not basic, world-class health facilities, and universal basic shelter. If we are unable to give this, we are unfit for this century. We are unfit for a civil society. We are unfit to call ourselves human beings. We should be in jungles then. And humanity was about coming out of the jungle laws of survival of the weakest, fittest. Humanity is not about survival of the fittest. Humanity was about coming out of the jungle laws of survival of the fittest and believing in a humane law of survival of the weakest. And if we can't take care of the weakest in this society, as we can see in India right now, then we are failing our nation. We are failing our people. And it's no more about India. Very soon there are going to be thousands dying all over the poor world, the marginalized world of Africa, Pakistan, Bangladesh. And there must be a movement which says human rights is about basic health care, universal health care for everybody, and income that helps people live. You want fancy things and your economy is not strong enough? It's fine. You say that, okay, for fancy things you got to work. Although I'm sure a world is going to come tomorrow when great living is also going to be basic human rights. But today, great health, a basic income, and a dignified shelter. The reason why India is not able to control, despite the lockdown, the spread of the virus, and China could control, is because in Indian slums, 8 people live in one room and they don't have basic sanitation. They have to walk together in a crowd to get water and for sanitation, and Chinese don't need to do that. So lockdown worked there. In India, it didn't work. And I told again, last time also, and I'm telling again, let's not be in a fool's paradise and think everybody who's going to come out of China is going to come to India. They came out of China. They might be coming out of China because of the issues. But that doesn't mean that they're going to come to India. Because in India, we have kept our human beings like animals. And developed civil world didn't come to the world's largest democracy, India, and went to the world's largest dictatorship, China. Not because they wanted to do that, but because they saw that Chinese infrastructure, not only in terms of roads, power, which is all phenomenally better, 100 times better than India, but infrastructure in terms of what they've given to their people to live in, shelter, health facilities, is at par with their country. And therefore they decided that dictatorship be damned, will go to China. And now as they come out of China, they're going to search countries where human beings are kept like human beings. And if we want investment, if we want to become a materially richer nation, even then we got to believe that universal basic income, universal good health facilities, universal dignified living shelter with sanitation facilities, water and electricity is a part of basic human rights that every human being in the world deserves. It's time for the great global dream. Thank you.